I'm only 30% there. What's happening here? Hello, hello? Hello, hello. It's Amy from Seriously Sweet and Cookie Snack Attack. We are so sorry we've had this slight delay tonight. Let us know if the sound is okay on your end. And let's welcome Miss Donna. Miss Donna, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here.
Oh, look, she has her headband on. So this is my friend Debbie. And I've got my elf hat on. She's being Grinchy tonight. And we are so happy that you are here with us this evening.
Okay.
Guys, tell us how the sound is.
I'm good on sound. How are you?
I'm okay. Oh, Susan is here. Is that your mama?
Yes.
Hello, Miss Susan. My mom's watching in the other room. Let's see. Priscilla, they are, aren't they?
No, they're watching Priscilla.
Oh, well, they'll be watching in just a minute because we're about to do gingerbread. So I brought Santa. How do I turn him so you can see him? I brought my little Santa scarf for you tonight. Miss Priscilla's here. Holly says a little fuzzy on the sound, but I think it's okay here, huh?
I think so.
Okay. Let's see.
As long as you're not getting back.
A little sad. It's the last day of our event too. Oh, it says Susan. It's your sister.
It's my sister covering for my mother. She's
gotcha. Okay. Hi, Tanisha. How are you? Whoopi, Cindy. Hello. Holly, it got better. Okay. So guys, here's the deal. I'm going to try to put Miss Donna, which camera, the one that you're in right now or the other one, what would you like to be the smallest and what would you like to be the largest?
For right now, let's do camera 1 as the largest because I'm going to show you the houses I have here.
Okay, fantastic. Well, guys, here's what we're going to do. If we lose the stream, we will be back. But I think what's going to happen is as soon as the regular computer that I stream from has its act together, I'm going to leave the stream and come back in. And I think I can do that and switch from one computer to the other in the middle. So if I'm gone, just let Miss Donna keep going and she won't see your questions, but I'll read them to her as soon as I get back. Okay. And everyone is so happy that you're here with us tonight and that they can watch this tonight. And we've got some headband people. They're going to make headbands.
Okay.
All right, let's see if we can do it like this.
Okay, I guess my first question for everybody usually asks where they're from. I'm going to ask everybody, what's their favorite Christmas cookie?
Oh, that sounds like a really good question to ask them. Look at those.
Because everybody thinks gingerbread's my favorite cookie, and these are some cookies I made. Somebody wanted a wedding topper.
So we won't tonight do all of the normal things that I ask everybody since we lost some time, and I want you to have plenty of time so you don't feel rushed. So just work in some fun facts about yourself as you're going along tonight, if you don't mind.
So I'll throw this out. These are actually my favorite cookies. This is
Pizzelles.
And these are pizzelles, which is an Italian kind of wafer cookie. And I'm traditional. I like the anise flavor. So I just wanted to throw it out there to see what everybody's favorite Christmas cookies are. I'm
not seeing any answers. Oh, Janie says chocolate molasses.
Ooh.
So I'm going to say that my favorite of all time is chocolate with roasted pecans, chocolate chip with roasted pecans. But I also really, really love drop sugar cookies, like gooey ones.
Oh, well, I know at Christmas we like to mix the snickerdoodles with either green or red sugar. So they're like holly doodles.
Oh, yeah. Holly doodles. I love that. That's what we call them. And chocolate crinkle cookies. I don't know if that's their real name or not, but we make those every Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close. And because we're so close, I've actually had a couple houses come off a display. So that's what I'm going to share with you first tonight.
We're excited about that. Holly said her favorite is peanut butter kisses. Sandra says her favorite is haystacks.
What are they?
What's a haystack? Do you know, Miss Donna? Is that the ones like a no-bake with coconut?
I think, yeah, then like the lo mein noodles.
Okay. And Liz is saying good warm chocolate chip. Can't beat that. I really do like those stuffed chocolate chips now. Have you know the ones that are super enormous? They weigh like a half pound. Oh, and somebody's saying, I think she means Nutter Butter. Tahisha, do you mean Nutter Butter, babe? And Susan is saying 7 layers. So is that your sister's favorite?
Yes. That's I don't know. She might be talking for my mom too, but I'll assume she likes 7 layers.
Okay.
So if anybody watched me on Cookie-a-thon last year, I did a demo of different techniques for walls.
I watched you. I watched it a lot.
And then I was contacted by somebody at work saying, hey, we see you're going to be on TV. Can you bring a house in to display? And I said, when do you need it? And they said, Monday. I'm like, this is Friday. So what I did is I took everything from that cookie-a-thon and I built a house in the weekend. So this is the house from the parts last year. And that's one of the new cello sheets for the window. I just think it's so amazing. It's so clear.
It's beautiful.
And if you look closely, you'll actually see parts from my TV show. That's the Elf and the Bears.
Yes.
And different things have come in. Whatever I had around the house, I used.
Well, you have to if you're going to do a whole house in a weekend, huh?
Yeah. So this is actually chocolate right here. So that's actually a chocolate mold, and the top is actually chocolate, and it was just painted with a metallic.
Myra says, beautiful house. I love the turret at the top. I don't remember how you made that, but I remember you talked about that somewhere.
Yeah, that's and that's one thing I'm going to talk about tonight is how to do molded gingerbread, getting outside of the plain flat panels. So as I was demonstrating last year, this is a brick pattern, and then I come in with some icing and just hit it to show the mortar off. In the back, we have some of a wooden effect, and that's done when the gingerbread is baked. And then I come in and I paint it with different colors to bring out the texture. Some more of the cello sheets. And of course, I'm a traditional, so I'm always going to have candy somewhere. These are jelly bellies, jelly beans.
Oh,
So
I recognize those.
yeah. Now, because it was a last minute thing, I did have a little structural problem because of the dormers, a little too much weight. I'm going to have to redo the interior. But you might recognize Sydney's tree down in there.
Oh, cool. Yes. From the other night.
Right. Then to keep continuity, if you look at the stencils, the colors on the stencils are echoed in all the gifts around the house.
Oh, they're beautiful. And it looks beautiful from inside too.
And yeah, I just love the windows. And then here's just a different way of doing bricks. This was actually just doing it with a straight stencil instead of
Miss Donna, just so you know, when I started loading the links is when I got tripped up before. So I'm going to try to do that from a second computer and keep that separate.
Okay.
But when everything you sent me is going to get loaded in the comments. Okay. Oh,
okay.
and we have people, our international people are watching tonight too. This is Chelsea Rose. She's in Japan. I'm going to have to watch the replay. This is amazing, Donna. She loves it.
Okay. So this is just a little house I whipped up over a weekend with leftover.
Oh, don't do that. This is just a little house I whipped up over the weekend.
Yeah, because now we're going to go to one of the houses that won at a competition last year. I was in Millersburg, Kentucky at Mustard Seed Hill. They have a Christmas competition there. They have a great display. It's a really nice place. Really enjoyed it. So for them, I did a bourbon
Look at that
fire gingerbread house.
How tall is that overall?
You're limited to 24 by 24 by 24.
Okay.
So when I did the research for it, I found out that they're located in Bourbon County. And when I was looking through the bourbon process to get familiar with it, I saw this machinery that looked kind of like a Christmas ornament. And I'm like, wow, I can mold a Christmas ornament and it would look just like that piece. I go, why don't we just, do the whole bourbon process? So you can see the tops of the turrets again.
Yes.
It's just, and then just got to use some of my great fairy houses.
So Miss Donna, when a competition says that it can be 24, 24, 24, is that your board?
Your board and anything on it has to be within that 24-inch cube.
Okay. And you have to get at least 24 inches in height, but your width, you just have to be iced or snow all the way to the edges, right?
You make the board based on what you're doing, so it's not too large, but you get enough room that it's not overflowing.
Okay.
If your parts stick over, and this year at Nationals, I heard that some people were disqualified. They used a smaller board, and their pieces were sticking over, and they said, "Oh, we're within a 24," but they came back and said, "No, you have to be within your board." Or else and apparently a couple of people were disqualified this year.
Wow.
So let me see if I could get around. Just showing off some of the fairy houses. Those are made, I make molds, and I actually bake the gingerbread in the mold. And it's amazing, the shingles and the texture. And then I come back and I paint every shingle individually with an ombre effect. and then come back and we do some of the brush embroidery on the edges.
So on that piece that you submitted for that particular competition, do you remember how many hours that you had involved in that?
No, everybody asks that question and it's terrible. I never take into account because a lot of time I'm spent thinking about, how to do it. I don't have much hands-on time, so I do a lot of planning and design work ahead of time.
It's just beautiful. That
And then
room,
they built
look at
in-
all those bottles.
Yeah, so in the main building, this is a bottling room. And in this competition, they said they'd provide lights if you needed them. So I contacted them and I said, I'm going to need lights for the inside if I do this. And they said, can you install lights? And I said, yeah, I could do that if you let me. So that really is a nice feature in here.
It's beautiful.
Now, it all depends on the competition. Some competitions let you use non-edible structures as long as they're covered with edible material. Other competitions require you, everything has to be edible. Other competitions let you use lights and internal supports. Oh, and under the tree, we also have to have the barrels in the aging cave.
Look at your barrels. Your barrels are, everything is stunning.
And because we have lights in there, I wasn't sure if I would still be okay with them. So I left the wire there so I could cut it if I had to, but the battery's right there and it's covered up with this so that they can easily change it out if it goes dead.
Wow. This is so
And if you look at the
mesmerizing.
texture, this is actually kind of like pastillage, but it's made with ground gingerbread instead of sugar.
Wow. So is that gingerbread clay?
No, it's called gingerbread pastillage. So it's just
okay.
like if you make pastillage, but you're using gingerbread instead. So it dries real fast. So I'm able to texture it and then apply it.
Wow.
And then come in with foil and texture it. So just there's bottles everywhere because doing my research, I was amazed that people that like bourbon are so into it. There's museums where they actually go in and they identify all the brands they've had and everybody has a different bottle and everything. So a couple of them are from Sydney and then other bottles I collected, and I have about 7 different colors. And it was a lot of fun doing all those little bottles. So they're all over the place.
Wow.
And I'll show you the mold I used to make this entryway.
I recognize the entryway.
Yeah, so I found a nativity set, a little display set, and I loved the background of it. So I actually took the piece and I made a mold, and I'll show you the mold. And then I actually baked the gingerbread within the piece. So it was just a lot of fun.
So that entryway, that's cookie?
So this is all gingerbread.
Look at that.
And the roof itself also is gingerbread, another use of within a mold doing textures.
Wow. We could just stare at this all night, I think. They said the detail is mind-boggling.
Yeah. And then, with the cylinders, you can bake gingerbread on cardboard because paper doesn't burn to 300 and some degrees or 400 and some degrees. So actually to make the cylinders, I'm baking them on cardboard tubes.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm able to texturize them, wrap them around the tube and bake them. So if you look, you won't see really any seams on the cardboard. And if I wanted to, we could put windows in there and then have lights come through.
Wow.
And let's just give you some of the.
Look at that walkway. It's incredible.
Yeah, that was the last minute. I was going to put something down, but it wasn't working. And my neighbor goes, I have nuts. And she ran back. And you can even look at detail when you look at the all the rings and stuff around.
Yes, you can see it. Your camera is doing a fabulous job tonight.
Well, we'll thank my sister Susan. She's the one that insisted on getting a great camera on the phone.
Well, Susan, we are so glad that you did that because it's amazing, the clarity. I love that roof is like one of my all-time favorite roofs that you've ever shown. That one right there.
I like the colors.
Now, this is a little faded because this house has been out for every year. It was on display down there for a month, and then it just came back from about 3 weeks on display at the tech center. Oh, I guess I should admit at this point, I am not a pastry chef. This is my artistic outlet.
So beautiful. Is that an ice malt window?
No, it's just a clear window. Actually, this was another building I had on hand, and I cut the opening and then just framed the tree very nicely.
Wow. Kelly in South Carolina says this is unbelievable. Kelly, she doesn't know how many hours she put into this because there's so much planning involved before she actually put it together.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't take much vacation time, so I do a lot of planning. I might actually lay things out on AutoCAD and things. And then when I have time, I just jump and do hands-on real quick. So just to give you a perspective for all the bottles and the sizes. And then, so I think, have you guys had enough of this?
We could probably look at it all night, but I know you have lots to show us.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I know people were asking about lights, and this is one that really displays the lights very nicely. So I was going to show you guys some of how I get my lights and where I get them from, and some recommendations for anybody that wants to start using lights. So let's go back over. I'm going to put my camera overhead and
Are you guys enjoying that her entire kitchen is a workspace and that it's just spread out very methodically?
It's kind of crazy right now, actually, because I just got done with chocolate and switched back. Okay.
Wow. Well, we want to tell your sister and your mom, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for sharing their time with us.
Well, I guess I should give you some background. I made my first gingerbread house when I was 13. I mean, Mom was really good at teaching me how to bake and how to make cookies and all that, but a little intimidated about making a gingerbread house. So I found a kid's cookbook when I was 13 in the library, and it had a gingerbread house. And I said, well, I'll do it myself. So I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we get that in frame. Okay.
We can see it really well.
Okay. And since then, I've obviously advanced a little bit more. In fact, I do have a picture of my first house.
Oh, fun. Look at that.
So that's my first house, and it's amazing. Wow. The first time I displayed it, somebody recognized the house from the cookbook, and she found it online and sent me a picture. And I was
wow.
It's cookbook. And then I looked her up, and she actually had written a gingerbread book, and I'm like, I know you.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So since then, I've gone on. I've done a lot of regional and local competitions and state competitions, and I've been to nationals at Grove Park as well. I've won 4th place twice. They don't have that anymore, but they used to have 4th place. So I've won twice. I had one of my houses up here on Good Morning America. Oh. And I've also been on 2 Food Network challenges for gingerbread, one for Halloween and one for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you do the Food Network challenges, they definitely really like lights. So the first time I went to do lights, I was actually making a lighthouse, and I wasn't sure what to do. So I'm looking online. I found this lighthouse light that just comes on and goes off. I thought, that's really cool, but I don't know electrical. And I called this place called Evans Designs. And I talked to Shelly. She's the wife, and Dave is the husband. They co-own the company. And she walked me through it, and it's really easy. So what they do is they send you, well, here, let me display first. Here's just some of the lights. Just to give you a feel, I connected some of them. So right here, you see a white and a cool white. These are 3 millimeters, so it's the medium size. Wow. And they're small, they're LEDs, so there's no heat. So when you put it in sugar, you're not going to melt anything or heat anything up. And they're so small, if you're doing some creature that needs eyes that glow, you can actually put it inside your sugar.
Oh, wow.
So they're very bright. Like I said, this is only 3 millimeters. We're going to jump up here to the 5 millimeters. I don't have all the colors. Just some examples: the orange, the violet, the red, the yellow. Now this yellow is their smallest color. This is a 1.8 millimeter. So like I said, that would be perfect for eyes, for a Halloween creature with eyes, glowing eyes. These also come in a blinking. There's a fast blink and a slow blink.
Those are beautiful.
Some of the other features they do is they have like a flickering light, which is great if you have a candle in your window.
Okay. And
this one is a breathing. It just kind of randomly goes in and out. And Now we're going to go to the lighthouse, the first one I ever got from them. So it's going to come on, and then I'm afraid to dim the lights. It looks a lot better in the darker it gets, but it's great. It mimics the lighthouse going around. Now, if they require you to use all edible materials or have all your non-edible covered, what you can do with the lighthouse is you can take, and this is what I did the first time. I just got a Christmas bulb similar to this shape, made a mold of that, and then I molded one from isomalt. So I had a lens cover over top my lighthouse light.
Oh, nice.
So that technically is allowed.
Okay.
Now, they also have other features when they start combining some of the flickerings and things. They do a lot of LEDs for model railroads. So right here, you have like a welding effect, and it has other lights blinking at a different rate. But my absolute favorite has to be the fire kit. Now, that's perfect to have inside. You can see if you cup. But even better than that, they actually in the kit offer a diffuser, but I just love to take a gelatin bubble and just cover them with a gelatin bubble.
Did you hear all the gasps?
So that
really
just
cool.
looks wonderful inside a house. And it almost doesn't really matter what kind of bubble, it's just diffusing the color.
Wow.
Diffusing the lights.
Okay, Miss Donna, I'm going to see if I can come in from the other computer, and we're going to see what happens, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself for a minute, so you just keep going.
Okay. So, and they all come in little kits like this. This is their fire kit. There's their welding kit. Everything's connected, and let me just show you how easy it is. So you're going to pick up a battery connection, and you're going to have your lights. Everything's nice and packaged. You can pick the length of wire depending on what you need. I like to use a 9 volt, so it's very easy. You connect your battery, and then after that, it's all color related. You have a red connection and a black connection. And off your battery, you have a red and a black.
Miss Donna, are you there?
I'm still there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the screen is frozen up. Yep, there we go.
Okay, we're good.
I think we are. I just need to get myself back in the stream where you can see me, and then we're going to be in good shape. And
Okay.
all the reverb is gone.
Great. Excellent. So I just connected red to red and black to black. Actually, I would twist them together, but I'm just holding them together. And this is just another little shape of their light. It just is a flat light called a mega, but it's amazing how much output that puts.
Could I ask a question about that fireplace gelatin bubble?
Yeah.
How many dips of gelatin was that?
That was 2, but I added a milky white, so it was opaque. It wasn't translucent.
Okay, that's that was absolutely gorgeous.
And it has some glitter in it too. I really like glitter when I'm doing anything to cover lights.
Oh, I love glitter. You know that.
Now this one is
anything
flickering.
that makes it sparkly is fantastic.
Now, when you do use lights on a gingerbread house, you do have to think ahead. First of all, on gingerbread houses, you should always put feet on them. So you put something under your board so you'll be able to get your fingers in and be able to lift it easier. And you could use something as simple as pieces of wood just to elevate it, or these are just nuts. I picked up some nuts. Now with lights, your connections are going to come underneath, and I like to put the battery underneath so it's easy to change. So these are actually knobs for cabinets in the kitchen. So I like to use these. I just drill right through my board, the base. That's the only non-edible thing usually on these gingerbread houses is the base. Drill right through that into my knob. And that way that gives me enough elevation to have the battery pack underneath it. And then make sure that when you're putting your lights in, you've planned ahead, you're going to drill a hole for your wires to go down. And make sure your wires are long enough that you can make all the connections. And you won't be like me, who has a friend holding up the lighthouse so that I'm done trying to make the connections and get the thing to work. Thank you, Renee. So that's one thing. Anytime you make a gingerbread house, always have a little room underneath to get your fingers so you don't break any nails and it's easier to lift and nothing gets damaged.
That is wonderful.
So I have a real close relationship now with the lighting people because when I contacted them to do my Halloween challenge, which turned out to be when aliens attacked, so we had to have a lot of lasers and stuff like that, I found myself 2 weeks before the competition without any assistant. And I called up the guy doing my lighting. I said, hey, you live in Colorado, don't you? How close to Denver? And he was within an hour. And I said, you want to be on TV? So Dave stepped in and we worked out very well. And a lot of people said, why did you choose him when he doesn't know anything about baking? I said, yes, but he knows lighting. And what's the thing that's most likely to go wrong in one of these competitions? That's the thing you don't know, the mechanical effect, the electrical effect. And I'm like, I have a ringer in there. He's going to be able to handle that, no problem. So because I did contact him last night saying, hey, we're going to be on the show. I'm going to talk about your lights. And he's, so that's one of the things I think you're going to download that. He's going to send a code for everybody so that they can try lights. And he's going to let you have 50% off your first purchase.
Oh my goodness. Where is he going to download that?
I sent the note to you with the code. So I think it's Ginger50.
Let me see if this works. I'm back. Oh no, it's not going to work.
And,
okay, so let me tell everybody what we're going to do, okay? Because this is what happened earlier. When I started trying to download all the codes is when we got jammed up. And then the computer started into this mass string of downloads. And it is Ginger50, capital G and then lowercase INGER 50. But as soon as we finish tonight, before we go into Lizelle's, I will go and put a post up in Cookie Snack Attack for just Miss Donna's links for everything she's about to tell you about. I'll just copy and paste everything into one post and put it in the group, and I'll pin it to the featured area so that you guys can take advantage, because she has really, I think there's like 4 different posts here, right?
Right. I have a link for the molding material I use, a link to Evan Designs, who has the lights. I have a link to the recipe I like to use. And I have another link for, whoops, where is it? Oh, right there. I'm going to build on what Sydney was talking about the other night. She was really great about talking about molds and gingerbread and baking and texturing. And one of the
just got here, by the way. Hey, Sid.
One of the things she mentioned was she had rubber bands, or in Pittsburgh we call them gum bands. She used that to hold the mold together, but said take them off when you bake. Well, there's this wonderful thing called silicone rubber bands, and they are oven safe.
Wow.
So that's so those fairy houses you saw. This is one of my molds, the actual mold that I baked it in. As you can see, the mold material picked up all the shingles. But to get it out, I had to cut a relief cut in the back. So when I bake it, I leave the bands on during the baking because it's going to expand the gingerbread as it bakes.
Wow, that's beautiful. So did you already tell us maybe in Cookie-a-thon where you found the house that you made that mold from?
Yeah, I found this in the garden center. There's a bunch of fairy houses. So either I find fairy houses at Michael's or Joann's, or in this case, it was the garden center.
It's beautiful.
I did have to wash them out. There's a few spiders inside and stuff.
Oh.
Now, the one funny thing is the first time I tried to mold, I was doing a tree. It was a 2-part mold. And I'm thinking, yeah, when it bakes, it's going to expand. How do I keep it together? And of course, it's midnight. I never started an experiment early. And I'm looking around. Oh, I have these wire ties. I'll just daisy chain them together and wrap it around, and it'll hold it together while it bakes. And I'll just leave the bottom open so it can expand that way and then keep it tight. So I put it in the oven, and all of a sudden this smell starts coming out. I mean, this horrible smell. And I looked at the wire ties, and they were paper on one side, they were plastic on the other side.
Oh,
burning plastic. It was about 1 a.m. at this point. So luckily it was summer. I opened all the windows, the doors, got the fan going, everything, cleared out the whole house. Wow. And the next day my neighbor said, hey, did you smell that skunk last night? What skunk?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah,
Miss Donna, to make a rooftop like that, are you going to go over how much of the marvelous mold it took to do that?
I'm just going to briefly touch on it. I'm going to talk more about using non-molds, just doing some shapes that you don't have to technically go into these. It gets a little difficult because you have undercuts and things, and that's very difficult to mold because you have to worry about the unmolding. And as you can see, this window is way down there, so that's why there's such a huge cut, which really can affect it. So simply on molds, here's an example of the one I was talking about. This is the actual arch on the other building. So this is the mold I made for that. What I'm doing is my favorite mold material. No, let me get the lights out of the way here. And the silicone bands are great if you can get them. They're online.
And I think you put a link for those in what I need to download too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, my favorite silicone two-stage mold material is the silicone plastique. And I included a link for that. And it's just 2 parts. You mix them equal amounts. I have a little scale here. I'll put 20 grams of one, 20 grams of the other. Mix it together until you get a uniform color because they come in white and blue. And you're going to get a light blue when you're done. And you just start applying it to whatever you want to mold. Now, this is expensive, so I'll tend to do a small, thin skin. And then I might go and use the cheaper mold material that you get at Michael's with your coupon and everything, or Joann's, and use that to bulk it out. In this case, you can see this was going to be a big one. So I actually used this for everything, just because I needed a lot of weight rather than this one that was more of a thin skin. Now, the advantage of using this one is you can get 20, 25 minutes of working time. So when I'm doing a roof that's detailed, I have to sit there and push every little bit in, level by level by level by level. So use this, you get a lot of working time. And if you keep it cold, the colder it is, the more working time you get.
Okay. And now, how many boxes did it take to make that roof?
This roof, this is about 1.5 boxes.
Oh, that's not that bad. It looks like it would be considerably more.
No, because it's very thin. And like I said, you can see how the other one was attached to it. I took out the inner skin.
Okay.
And one thing though, if it gets too cold, the mold material will not harden. And I know that because somebody's furnace went out when she was making molds for a national competition.
Oh, wow.
I get done and I'm like, it's kind of cold in here. I'm like, the mold's not hardening. What's going on? I'm like, it's really cold in here. So if that ever happens to you, or if you want to speed up your process, get a hairdryer, hit it with the hairdryer, and it hardens up within 5 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a great tip.
I know something always goes wrong when I'm doing my houses. In fact, at that competition, the furnace went out 2 weekends in a row. This year, it was the dishwasher. I came in and there's water all over the floor. So not a good time to lose your dishwasher.
Oh, no.
So as we're going to talk a little bit more about molds, this is also a 2-part mold. It's pretty basic. These are all food safe molds. And you make the mold. I would wash it before you do the first molding with it. But let me show you some, because after you make this, you're like, well, how do I bake it? So let me show you an example of some of the houses. If you could do me a favor, could you throw a picture of the little mushroom Christmas house up? Can you do that?
Where is that picture?
That's the one, the original one I sent you for this.
I might be able to do that. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on just a moment.
Now I'll do a little change out here.
Let's see. We need to go here. Let's hope this works, you guys. No, it's, hold on, maybe, Miss Donna.
Oh, and so as we're doing the change out, before I forget, you notice I had a little trouble in the other house, I had a little trouble with the structure. When they say everything has to be edible you're using, it doesn't necessarily have to be tasty. So you can use a support like a giant candy stick, but be aware that these will run sometimes with a lot of heat and humidity. So you can look at things like pasta, and it comes in various shapes. So something like this, I've used as support beams, and it's easily covered with like chocolate or isomalt. Just don't put royal icing inside a pasta. It sucks the moisture in and cracks. So just a heads up, no royal icing inside your pasta.
Tell me if this is the picture that you are looking for. I think I'm almost there. Hold on. You want the one with the with like the turret type thing in the front, like the little fairy house?
Just the mushroom house that was on.
I think I have it right here because it's different than the one that you just showed, right?
Right.
All right, hold on one sec. I think it's loading.
So as you're loading, I'll point out
How
another is our
with the holly roof. That's it.
Okay, so we'll get to that in 1 minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I mold. Oh, go ahead, back to it.
Go back. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Okay, so this is a little mushroom Christmas holly house. And what I'm going to demo is I'm going to show you how to get those shapes of gingerbread. Now, it's not using molds. If you look closely at the top, you'll see is actually a hemisphere. So you could use like a mixing bowl or something. You could make a mold.
Wow.
And then the bottom, I'm going to start using some vases and show you how you can actually bake on the glass and get the shape for the bottom of the mushroom house.
Wow.
So I'm just giving you a heads up. What I'm going to show you now is just because normally, you know, when you do a gingerbread class, you can't do the baking. You can only do like the assembly and the decorating. So I'm going to take advantage and see if I can show you some baking and some techniques on how to actually wrap the gingerbread around and bake and get these unusual shapes. So you're not stuck to what's linear and, you know, cookie cutter patterns. All right. So go ahead back to live. I'm just going to show the cinnamon sticks.
Phew, at least that worked. That was good.
Oh, I'm glad. Okay. These are cinnamon sticks, and they can come up to like 21, 22 inches long. So that other house I have with the roof failure is actually going to have some cinnamon beams going across it to support the roof. But this is another great structural thing for when you're doing houses and you need some support inside. Cinnamon sticks are considered totally edible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because you would grind them and use them, but it's the same thing, just a different form.
Okay.
All right.
So much good info, Miss Donna.
Okay, let's see. Can you switch to my camera too?
Yes, I can. Here we go. There you are, ma'am.
Okay, so hopefully we can see some of these. All right, so what happens is I kind of get an idea and I end up wandering around Michael's and Joann's or thrift stores. And you start looking at vases and you're like, you know, what could I do with them? What if they were, well, yeah.
Oh, look at it.
And then, you know, if I had a top on it, yeah, that could be a mushroom house.
Oh,
So
I love it.
Then you start, and you can use like foam for it, or, you know, you start collecting your mixing bowls or hemisphere molds from cakes. And then you start hitting all the thrift stores and you're like, ooh, this would be a really cool mushroom house.
Wow.
Now, the one thing is don't use your good glass vases. Don't use something that's really thin. You want something that has a good thickness because there is a bit of a thermal shock. When you bring it out, it's going to be gradual, but this one is really thick. So this one would be great for baking in. And when you look at it, you don't necessarily have to do the whole shape. The one I'm going to use tonight, you would never think of that. But if you think back to the picture we saw and you turn it upside down, you go from here up to there. That's the base. And then put your little mushroom top on it.
Wow.
So we're actually not going to use any, you don't technically have to use any molds for this. What you can do is you can just bake it either inside a pan or on the outside of the pan. If you have a mixing bowl that's metal, you can do it put the gingerbread on it, bake on there. I would definitely grease it first. And if you could, try to get one without a lip. It makes it very difficult to remove. So if you have something like this without a lip, much
Can you
easier.
come down just a little? We
Okay.
can't see it. There we go. Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, because when it bakes, it slides down. When it gets that lip, you can't get in there and release it.
Okay.
So get one like that. Or if you want to, you could also bake it on the inside. Because this house, the top of it is all covered with ivy, so nobody's going to actually see the surface. So if you mess up, it's a great starter house for you practicing three-dimensional gingerbread.
Okay.
Now, if you get really picky like me and you say, oh, I don't have any mixing bowls the right size, all I can find is styrofoam, like this or this, then yes, you can go get your mold material. You see the blue inside, again, a thin skin of that. I usually mix it up and I actually roll it out between wax paper, lay it across over top, smooth it out, cut it off, and let it harden. And then I add my next layer, which is the yellow, the cheaper. And I use that thicker. You can see in this one just the difference in thickness.
Wow.
Now, I will warn you, it picks up every little imperfection. So obviously, if you look closely at this, you can see, when you look at the styrofoam, you can see it picked up everything. So if you want an absolutely smooth one, you're going to have to look for something metal that's going to give you a good smooth surface.
Okay.
If your gingerbread's exposed.
Okay.
But the house I'm showing is easy. It covers it, and it even comes down over the edge, so you don't have to worry if your edge is perfect. So like I said, I have put my mold material over top the styrofoam. I put 2 layers, and now at this point, don't unmold it yet. Let me push these faces away before I drop all those. I think the thrift stores are tired of seeing me stand there playing with all their vases. And I start going and get mixing bowls, and they're like, "What are you doing?" So before you unmold it, you put your mold material over the styrofoam. I've done 2 layers. I like to come and get a mixing bowl and make a little nest, and this nest is going to hold my mold while the gingerbread's baking in it.
Wow.
So I've actually put the foil in there, just any kind of foil. The idea is you're going to get enough that it supports the edge, that there's no wobbling or movement after you put it in. It's going to have the right shape. And this is important in case you find like a really cute fairy house and you want to support it, and you don't really have anything that's going to work. You just make your own support system. Foil within a baking pan. And my favorite thing is to mark this edge with the edge of your bowl, so you know exactly, once you put the gingerbread in, you go to put it back in there, you know exactly how it fits instead of trying to, I think it goes this way. I don't know.
Oh, that makes good sense.
So you'll see a little mark there. So now at this point, now that you have a little nesting for baking, then you can unmold, and then we're going to be putting the gingerbread in here.
Jessie Ann said this is very important.
So let me clear this out, and hopefully this works because the gingerbread's gotten kind of cold. But I have a great recipe, and you're going to share that too in the links.
Okay, wonderful.
And the recipe I use is from a friend of mine, Denny Cole, and she's down in Weaversville, which is just Weaversville, North Carolina, just outside of Asheville. And she developed this recipe because she was looking for something that structurally could have her do 3-dimensional. And if you read through the pages, it'll talk about why she used certain things. Like she uses honey instead of sugar. It uses rye flour mixed with AP flour. So the dry flour give you a little more elasticity, but it also gives texture to it. Very little moisture in there, very little wet materials. Honey is used in there, and pretty much the coloring just comes from all the spices. But I've come to love that recipe, or that's my recipe, my go-to, because when I bake, it doesn't do that slump. When you start to bake a cookie and it kind of gets elastic and it kind of just spreads out, this gingerbread doesn't do it. It's going to maintain. So let me pull out tonight's vase.
And we have permission to share it. We're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had, when we had American cake decorating, I had used that recipe. They actually published it. So
okay.
Okay, there it is. I pushed it out. So, first step, we're going to bake our gingerbread on this base. And like I said, you got to be careful. You are baking on glass and you're putting it in the oven. So we go up to 350 and that's been fine with the glass. Just be careful with thermal shocks. You know, don't stress it out when it's hot. Don't do abrupt temperature changes. There's a good chance you could crack the glass. But like I said, you can bake gingerbread on glass, on metal, on cardboard.
Wow.
So my first step is I'm going to cut it in half because it's a lot easier to rest it and bake on one side. So I get my little cake divider here, which unfortunately is getting so old when I pulled it out, it's all cracked. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to measure, and I'm going to divide it exactly in half and put a line with a Sharpie. So come in and I make sure I have that line. So that's going to show me the halfway point. And then when I wrap my gingerbread, I'm going to go a little beyond that. So hopefully you guys can see this. Is everything still in focus?
Yes, it looks fantastic.
Okay, so now we have our base divided and we know where the halfway point is. Let me pull this one out just a little better.
Miss Donna, I'm going to leave you with Debbie for just a second. You're not going to need any camera switches right at this moment, are you?
No, it should be okay if you can still see this.
I just want to check on Mom real quick, but Debbie will be right here.
Okay. So when we bake it, I want the support. I don't want the base rolling around once I get the gingerbread on it. So once again, I'm just getting foil. I'm doing just a little bit of nesting so I can secure it and it's not wobbling because I'm going to wrap the gingerbread right on top. Okay, so I've already pre-made the gingerbread. I rolled it out. I just wanted you to get a look at what color it is. It's a nice dark gingerbread. And do not put it in the refrigerator. Mix it up and keep it out of the refrigerator. In fact, we're going to warm it up in the microwave to make it more malleable and easy to form. And my favorite time to use it is right after I make it. It's still warm and I'm able to use it right away. And remember, if you have a critical piece, the first time you use this gingerbread is going to be your best quality. Anytime you remix your scraps, there's a chance you're going to get air bubbles and things in. So practice, but you know the best piece, you want it with the first cut, first use of your dough.
So Donna, how long, once you make that dough, how long is it good for sitting out? Because you say you're not supposed to you shouldn't refrigerate it.
It works for a long time because it has honey in it. And
Okay.
honey's not the only food that doesn't go bad.
Right.
So I'm going to, hopefully this works. Like I said, I've rolled out the dough ahead of time. And we're just going to actually put it in the microwave and heat it up. So I put it in when it's cold like this, maybe 44 seconds. Just you want to get it warm enough that you can still touch it, but it's going to get malleable and flexible. If you get bubbles in, you've heated it too much. Don't ask me how I know that. But just heat it until it's workable. And if you have trouble while using it, you can continue to heat it in the microwave. So let me do a quick run. So when I cover this, it's kind of like when you do fondant. You're going to come in, smooth it over, smooth it on, smooth it, remove your excess, then come in, and luckily it's glass. You can see right in and you can see your line. I'm going to let it extend a little past the line so that way I could just trim it later and make sure the two halves meet up perfectly. So yes, I'll be using a Dremel to clean it up and make sure everything matches up. But we're going to do a wood texture on here. So any mistakes you make aren't going to be glaring because we're going to use a wood texture and then we're going to put a door on so you can like hide your mistakes behind the door. It's a good first experiment to try with 3D modeling of gingerbread. So my gingerbread coming out of the oven or coming out of the microwave got a little warm, but I'm feeling it's warm enough that I can still touch it and it's flexible And hopefully this will be good enough. I'm just going to actually throw it in again. It's getting a little dry on the edges, so I'm going to hit it with a little water. Just because the edges dried out from it sitting, even though I had it covered in plastic.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give it another quick 3 or 4 seconds in the microwave just to get it done. A little bit warmer, a little better.
Are you guys enjoying this? Let us know over in the comments and hit some likes and loves.
Yeah, sorry, this is real technical. I know you said people were wondering.
Oh no, that we want to know this.
Okay.
I had no idea you baked on glass. I knew that they baked on the stainless steel and the different metal pieces and things like that, but I didn't know you could bake on the thicker glass.
Yeah.
This is so handy to know this.
So is everything still in focus?
It looks fantastic. It could not be better.
Okay, so I just peeled my gingerbread off of the parchment, and I'm going to lay it on there, and I'm going to start smoothing so I don't get any air bubbles. And like I said, you want it warm enough that it's flexible and it's going to go on, but it's not going to get to the slump stage where it gets too warm. And then once I kind of get it on, I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to start working it in. It's a little dry on the edges from sitting out, but I'm looking to make sure I get everything covered. And then real quick, I'm going to come in with this real technical tool.
The scissors. So Charlotte said she's listening and learning a lot while decorating her cookies. Janie says, I'm enjoying it. Never done a homemade gingerbread house object, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Allison said, I love the technical and how something is done. Now I want to add the mushroom top and apply lights to the underside.
So I save all my scraps. You never know when you need them.
Wow.
And you're able to look and see where the line is and then make sure you're kind of cutting within there.
Okay.
So that's just a rough cut to kind of get me to the point I can start smoothing and making sure it's down and in. And ahead of time, I already figured out, I need it cut here. And then that's when I'm going to come in with the X-Acto knife and start doing some other.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it's glass, so you can cut right onto it.
Christina would like to know how thick that dough is. Did you mention that yet?
No, this dough, the first one I made was at 3/8, and I had an absolute disaster. It fell apart. What I did is I got to keep working while I talk before it gets warm or get cold. I did my cuts too deep, and I put a window in, and it fell apart twice while baking. So I moved up, and I did 5/8 on this one. I'm not sorry, not 5/8. 5/16, just above a 1/4 inch.
Okay.
And the second one, I didn't put any windows in. I'll have to come back in with a drill and a hole. And so I'm just going to go around. I'm going to cut everything until I know we're running out of time. So
you're okay. You actually have 45 minutes if you want to use it all.
Yeah. So, and it's great that you can see from inside and you can see exactly where that line is. And like I said, you want to be a little bit below that line so you have a little extra to cut off if it doesn't work.
Okay. And Janie would like to know, does the dough still smell yummy being a more structural dough?
Yeah, it does. It has all the spices. Now, if you want it lighter color, you can leave the spices out. The cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger. But I like to use it. It's kind of a bland gingerbread, but we're looking for the structure. Not many gingerbreads can totally cover and wrap. I mean, we did get some wrinkles. Usually I won't get that, but it just sat too long. So it's ready at this point. I've made sure I pushed it in. I usually would have the bottom a little cleaner. But it's ready.
Is the aluminum foil nest supporting the dough at all?
No, it's not touching the dough. You don't want it touching the dough.
Okay.
If you can see.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it comes down. You can clean this up now, or you can clean it up with a Dremel later on. It's slightly beyond my line. And I'm going to come in. I'm going to keep touching it. Just got to be careful when it bakes. It's going to tend to kind of twist out in the corners. So you're going to be wanting to watch it as it bakes. Maybe every 10 minutes, I'm going to come in, And I'm going to test it, make sure it's still touching, everything's still good. It's touching, making sure nothing's down. I'm going to bake it for maybe 30 minutes. Like I said, every 8 to 10 minutes, I would go in and check it. I'm also going to rotate it from one side to the other. Keep an eye on it, make sure everything's sticking, everything's where it should be. I did put a little bit of grease on this before I put it in, but my first one, I may have used too much grease. The reason I did use grease this time is it's hard to come off the glass, and you have to do it when it's warm, and I didn't want anybody burning themselves, so I thought, well, let's try some grease, and of course, the first one fell off. Second one, I applied the grease, but I wiped it off, so it was a very thin coating.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to bake it more for a color than for actual. You can't really tell if it's done, but so I'm going to look and I'm going to try and bake it until I get it the color I want. Now,
Okay.
if later on I find it has too much moisture in, it's shifting and shaking, I'm going to actually put it back on, and I'm going to put it in a lower temperature, maybe 200, 250, and I'm going to do low and slow, and I'm just going to dry it out. So we're going to treat it like Scotty, where you do it twice bake. You do it first time, and then the second time you're just drying it out.
So the first bake is 350?
First bake's at 350 according to the recipe. Checking it, bake it until you get the right color, or you keep an eye on the edges. Of course, they're going to bake faster. Now, the glass is an insulator, so it is going to take a little longer to bake. So like I said, it might be a half hour until this piece is baked the first time.
Okay.
So after it comes out, you're going to check it. You can kind of come in. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Before I put it in, and I can't do it now because it's too cold, I went in and I put lines in to make it look like it's wooden. Now, don't put them too deep or it's actually going to break into pieces. But I like to put some lines in, and I'll come in and I'll make them wider rather than deeper. Can you guys still see all this?
Oh, perfect.
Okay. And then after that, I might come in with the knife and just do some random grain work.
Didn't you tell me you'd only done one other live stream?
I've never done a live demo like this. Everything's been recorded. So this is my first.
Really? Well, you're killing it. You're a rock star.
So like I said, now some of the stuff won't appear until after you've baked it. And you can come in as soon as it's out and also reinforce some of these seams to show it off. But when you come in with your color, the color is going to absorb it into so your darker colors are going to go in, and the graining is going to show off very nicely.
It's beautiful.
So when it comes out, after it's done baking, you got the color you want, go in and go through your seams again. Just don't cut through because it's still warm at this point. I'm going to let it maybe cool for 10 minutes. And this piece in particular is very, very heavy at the bottom. So it's hot, and it's going to stay hot maybe for half an hour to an hour. But you're going to have to start coming over and just gently kind of peeling it off, lifting it. And it's going to be hot. So I usually get a hot pad, hold it here. And this is when we need Sydney with her asbestos hands. Just come in and kind of loosen it, loosen it, loosen it. And you're going to give it a little wait time. You're going to come in and loosen it again. What you're looking for is at some point it's going to release enough that you're going to feel it just slide. Just slide. And you're like, okay, that's good. I'm going to keep it on there because it's warm. I wanted to keep it shaped, but it's released. Come back in again 10 minutes later. Try to slide it. It probably won't slide. So you're going to have to go loosen, 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 slide a little bit more. Keep it on there so it keeps its shape as it cools. But you want to make sure that it's going to release. The grease definitely helped a little bit more. But like I said, if you put too much, it broke right here, fell off twice. So I'll show off the ugly piece later. Let me peel off the good piece.
Wow. That is just gorgeous.
As I said, the graining comes out a little bit more. Now it's a little rough on the edges, and I actually noticed that it picked up the marker. I think that's because of the grease application. But what I'm going to do is I'm put the two sides together. First of all, I have to make sure it has a solid bottom that it's going to sit well. So I'll come in with a Dremel, maybe some sandpaper if it's not going to be eaten, or you could use a microplaner. And
so we want to know if you have a scroll saw.
Not yet, actually. Most everything's been Dremel, but like I said, if you want to put in windows, I tried cutting them, but it affects the structure too much. I have done this a lot. This is a hole attachment for your drill.
Mm-hmm.
So just do this. This will be great for putting a window in.
Oh my.
And what you're going to do is when you put the two pieces together, now if I show off the ugly piece.
It's so great.
See, the ugly piece was okay with one side, but the other side not only slumped twice and I had to repair it, it actually broke when I was unmolding it.
Oh wow. Okay, I see what you're
But
saying.
it has much deeper grooves. It also had a window in it, and it had a lot more grease. So I don't know which was the main factor. I haven't done my failure analysis yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to be able to, what I'll have to do is I'll come in and trim it until I get the pieces that, so they meet up exactly. I want a good base. So I'm going to have to come in and trim the bottom so it sits well and that they come together and I get the right angle and be able to close them up. And also what you're looking is you're going to put a door on here. Now how you do the door is up to you, but I like to use fairy house doors. I'm not going to quite have time to show a mold, but if you go to the craft studio, they have all these fairy houses and they have them for the holidays too. And this one is my absolute favorite. So I'm going to make a mold of that. And then I'm going to make my fairy house door out of like a fondant gum paste mix. Now this is a large door. So when you have your ugly side or where it broke or something, once you get this fitting together and it looks really good and you decide that's good enough, you pick your ugly side and you put your door there. Because remember, your mushroom top, oops, I don't have anything good, it's going to come down and hang over some. So you're not going to see much of that ugly part of it. So before you put it all together, you're going to come back and you're going to drill your holes for your windows, which will probably be on the side.
Did you say where the doors came from?
These are just from Michael's or Joann's.
Oh.
Any place that sells garden stores again.
Okay.
Fairy house.
Okay. And Janie would like to, first of all, Janie said, wow, this is so much info, so much knowledge. Thank you for sharing all this. Definitely giving beginners great tips. So how many fairy doors do you own?
A little too many.
Is it a problem yet? Do you need an intervention? Do you need an address for your duplicates?
No, my mother would be saying that's my stencil problem, but yes. In fact, I told the one vendor what my mother said, that I might have a problem with stencils, and she goes, "Well, let's help that out." She gave me 10 free stencils.
Oh, that's great.
So, real quick before we get off of this, I'm going to throw in one of the fairy lights.
Okay.
And what it would look like.
And thank you for sharing that info on the lights. That was really an incredible share.
I mean, I really appreciate the support because I'm not a double E. I don't have an electrical degree. So once again, when they sell that, they put all the lights together. Even though there's 3, they all come down to just 2 wires. And of course, with baking hands, I'm sure everybody has these right now that have so dried up and cracked. And
oh my goodness, I just said that today. Another one of the tips of my finger split today, so I'm going to be band-aided and gloved up for the next couple tutorials.
I like to put super glue on them.
Yes, I think that's what I have. It's called New Skin. I think it's basically just super glue.
Yep. Oops, I just did something wrong. It popped off. Okay. Let's see if we get that. There we go.
Look at that.
It keeps popping out. Sorry.
That's okay. Look at how cool that is. Sheila says, I laugh too, Donna. Is it really cold where you are right now?
No, it actually got warm today.
Is it cold now, though? Like all of a sudden, it just feels like it got so cold outside. I can feel it coming in off the windows. It was really nice earlier today. I know, isn't that cool? It dropped. We're almost down to 38. That's so amazing. Doesn't that just look like a campfire inside there?
Yeah.
Like it's in the tree. Donna, that's gorgeous.
I like to put fondant around here. And because it's a natural look, when I do the fondant, I'm going to make a rope of fondant. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to texture it like it's a wooden. And then I'll wrap it around here. I might even put cross members before that. And I'll just draw it a little bit. So it's a great look.
Tony O'Grady says that looks so beautiful.
So it's one of my favorite things. And in fact, my neighbor is saying, why do you leave all the doors open on your fairy houses? And that's so you can see more of the light and appreciate it.
Wow.
Okay, so now I'm just going to go over how to bake some gingerbread in a hemisphere.
Oh my God. On the coupon, the Ginger 50, and I'm going to put the link in the group, is that for your entire first order, or is that for just your first item?
He said first order.
Okay.
So I think it's incredibly generous.
Yes, it is. That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, hopefully he'll be able to tell from that code how many people that saw the tutorial ordered. So that would be great.
Right. That's what I said. You know, you can, you know, encourage people to actually try it for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like putting together a recommended list to drop in the group of like, if it was your first order, what you couldn't live without? She's like, no, Amy, I'm done at 8:15. I'm sorry.
Well, you know, first of all, I love the lighthouse. I've done some lighthouses. I love to wrap them with fondant so it looks like a giant gingerbread or peppermint stick.
Oh, wow.
And then I love to do that. So the light has always been my favorite. But
and the fire.
The fire. In the one you saw in the bottling room, I had 2 solid warm lights and I had 2 blinking warm lights just to add a little action.
Okay.
Now it depends on what you're doing. You know, if you want certain moods or colors, or if you're doing eyes, it's kind of nice to try a couple different things and some of their different blinks and some of the different effects. But definitely fire, lighthouse, maybe some warm. With gingerbread in the applications, you don't do too much of a cold white. It's more of a warm.
Okay.
So let me pop this in the microwave and we'll keep talking. So right now, I'm actually going to mold. I think this is a smaller one. So we talked about this before. I've made my mold. I made my nest. And now I'm going to just heat up the gingerbread and I'm going to place it into the mold, cut it, and trim it.
Okay. Wow. You guys, isn't this a crazy amount of information? Are you having the best time? I have so been looking forward to this because I wanted to attempt to make a gnome house this Christmas. I just wanted to make a gnome house to put in the photographs with all our gnome and floral cookies. And I was like, how'd you do that roof?
Yeah, now you can go out and find simpler houses at Michael's and Joann's. They still have them for the holidays. And you can make a 3D mold of those. It doesn't have the texture in the roofs and the undercuts that are going to cause a lot of trouble in the unmolding.
Or we could just get a really fancy one and get the problems out of the way on the first try.
It will be frustrating. You will try to pull it out and you'll break the whole top off or something. And you don't know, you want to cool it a little, but if it gets too cold, then all the shingles break off when you pull it out. But if you pull it out too hot, you burn your hands.
I gotcha. Dance. There's a delicate balance and dance here, people. This is so fabulous. Someone's laughing. Someone just hit the laughing emoji.
So just showing you, I'm going to hit it with a little water because it is dry now, but it's definitely not warm enough. If it's not warm enough, it's going to start to crack. I wasn't really sure how to handle this. You don't really get to bake much when you decorate the houses and do a demo. So this is my first time trying to show baking techniques.
Okay.
And I learned about my microwave. They actually have a feature that turns the turntable off so it doesn't get stuck as it's spinning around and wrap everything up.
Oh, that's good.
I've had this microwave for how many years? And I never noticed that button.
You didn't need it till now.
Because it comes up and it's gotten all wrapped around itself, all the paper and everything. I'm like, what did I do? Oh, it's so
Guys,
good.
I just want to give Miss Donna some credit here. You notice her work area is much larger than my 3 foot by 3 foot Bermuda Triangle area that I have, and she has not lost a thing yet.
Oh no, you didn't just say that out loud, did you? So I'm going to start out with the mold in the nest.
Beautiful.
Okay, it's a little warmer. Still, it's going to crack because it's not cool enough. It's not warm enough, but it's getting a little too hot on the edges.
I like the little trick with the water too. I didn't know about that.
And that's just relating to this one. So I'm going to just kind of treat it like fondant. I'm going to work it in. You want to get it to the bottom. And kind of push it down. And you're going to kind of just smooth it up. Hopefully you can see all this. You just kind of smooth it now. You're going to have to put some relief cuts in. So I'm just going to kind of smooth it and kind of just overlap it in a spot or two. This is definitely too much gingerbread for this small mold. But you're going to push it in, push it up against there. And then come in with that quick.
With your technical tool.
My very technical tool. The biggest thing is to get the extra weight off. That's not pulling and ripping the gingerbread.
Mm-hmm. What's the most favorite gingerbread piece you've ever made? Doesn't have to be a house, but what's the most favorite thing?
Probably the castle where I got 4th place for the first time. It was just a lot of fun. And at that time, a lot of people use color, so much color on their gingerbread. And I went monochromatic. I went with gingerbread and chocolates and golds and bronzes and just, and then surrounded the castle with chocolate cliffs with milk and dark chocolate.
Oh.
Then I put a bright cobalt sea around it, water.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that sounds just delicious and heavenly looking.
So I've kind of pushed together where where it creased up, and I'm going to come in now, and actually I can take it out of the nest now that I kind of got it in position. Okay. And I'm going to start working and smoothing this out. I'm going to trim a little bit more off the top. I might even throw it in the microwave to warm it up again because it's getting a little hard. But we're going to go back and we're going to use the water again. We're going to hit it, and I'm going to start working on smoothing it. Wow. Now, you don't really have to worry because nobody's going to see it, but I kind of want the whole thickness. I want it to bake the same on all sides. I don't want any hot spot, and I want to make sure I close up wherever I have any gaps. So I'm going to probably heat it, and it's going to take a good 10-15 minutes to work this out. And I'm going to push it up around the edge. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come in after you've worked it from the bottom, smooth it the whole ways up, you know, spraying, smooth, spray, smooth. Just work your way till you get to the edge. We still good? Can you see everything?
Yes.
I'm going to come in with a knife, and I'm very carefully going to trim along that edge, right to the edge of the mold. Now, the important thing is not to smooth it out too much, that your edge gets thinner at the top. You want it the same thickness overall. Okay. This edge is exposed the most. When this is in the bowl, you're insulated because of the mold material. You're insulated because of all the foil. So all the rest of this is going to bake slower. The part sticking out on the top, this edge is going to bake the fastest. Wow. So you want to make sure that you maintain your thickness throughout. You trim it. You see the thickness. And it also helps if you come back in with your water. I'm not going to trim it all. But I like to wet my finger. And after I trimmed the whole edge, I'm going to come in and I'm going to smooth the gingerbread and give myself a real nice edge. And like I said, maintain that thickness. So I'll go all around it and just clean it up totally. And then actually, once I have it in and I can feel it smooth all around, I have a nice edge, everything's cleaned up. I'm going to look for my line. I'm going to line it up here. And I'm going to drop it in the nest. This doesn't matter because it's circular, but if you're doing any other house or shape, you don't want to be sitting here trying to get in the right spot. Amazing. Now, there is a chance if you don't, there's 2 ways to bake it. You could bake it on the outside of a form, or I like to do it on the inside. Now, there is a chance when it starts to heat that it might separate and start to slump. So quite often I will come in, especially on fairy houses, because you work so hard to push them in and get the shape. I might come in with some foil and just temporarily set up the foil. So before you do this, after you put your house in, let it dry a little so it's not still wet. That water that you worked in there is going to dry quickly, but you don't want it sticking to the foil. So work a little foil in, put it in the oven, and maybe it's going to be about 10, 20 minutes gradually. And sometimes I'm going to put foil in the middle just so that there's something to keep pushing it until it gets over that initial slump. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to start pulling the foils out until I have the bread exposed, because remember, it's all insulated all around this spot. This is going to be the fastest way for it to bake, is where it's exposed in the oven. Now, having said that, obviously it's going to bake faster on the top. So you'll treat it as it starts to bake and you see the edges getting darker than the rest of it. That's when you start coming in and you put your strips over top, just like with pie. Okay, so it's going to go in, and you can put it right in the bowl. The bowl is a great nesting feature, and it holds it pretty much the way the other one is. Every 10, 12 minutes, I'm going to go in. I'm going to kind of check. Is it all still up against the silicone? That's why you have to, if you have a good nesting feature, you won't get any blowouts like I did on my first one. Just make sure that it doesn't bubble. It doesn't come out. You don't really have to worry about this one because the texture is on the outside. So what you're doing on the inside won't be seen if you accidentally put it in there. And as it bakes, like I said, if the edge gets burnt, cover it. So let me show you one I just took out. Now this one, you bake until you see the color you want. The edges to get a little brown. And it actually did break through. I pushed too hard. I didn't have enough material. So I did have to come in and repair it with a little royal icing. But I'm going to watch as it cools for a while. And after a while, it's going to kind of get cool enough that I could touch the mold, but the bowl is going to still be pretty hot. So at that point, I'm going to gently put it over a rack and let it cool off here. This is going to be really hot. And after a while, when it's warm enough that you can touch it, that's when you flip it over. This one is easily done mold because it's circular. But a fairy house, you might have to take it when it's still pretty warm and start working your way out. Anything that's intricate and has any type of undercut, it's going to be a lot of work.
Wow, look at that. So,
but these, when they're like this, is very easy to pop out.
Hey, Belinda Cooley just popped on. Hey, Belinda. She says, hey, Donna.
Bye. And even though it's a little bit of a blowout, overall, it's a pretty good shape.
Wow. It's beautiful.
I'll just have to clean up the edges. That's a real quick thing if you have sandpaper. Just rub it on paper. It's nice and clean.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people will say, okay, it's going to rest on your walls. Aren't you worried about the walls supporting the weight, because you're going to have all this gingerbread and all these holly leaves on top of it. All this fondant holly leaves is going to get pretty heavy. So one trick I like to do, and I do this also on cylinders. Let me show you an example. Oh, I was going to show off some of the 3D things. These are pumpkins.
Wow.
So this was also done in 2 parts. It's actually starting to split. But one of my favorite things is when I do a cylinder, and this one I just aged to make it look like birch bark, and you have a top for it. I like to put a little circle in here, a little platform, so that it's actually resting on the platform. And if I do that with my cylinder here, I'm going to get a platform that's a little smaller inside.
Okay.
Just a little smaller. So that will sit up on top. And I could actually put a piece of candy or stack of some cookies and actually have the top resting on those and not all the weight resting on the walls of your mushroom. And that helps because it's going to be a very heavy top. Once you put all your little holly leaves on here, it's going to be a lot of weight.
Okay.
But this means that you don't have to worry about, this gives you a chance to have a nice overhang. You don't have to have something so tight that it fits right on top. This way you can have a nice big overhang. You can decide how far down you want it to go based on the size of circle you put inside. So I bake that circle gingerbread, put it in there. I stack my cookies up. So actually most of the weight is resting on that candy cane stick or the cookies or whatever.
Just beautiful.
Now remember, before you start assembling, think ahead of time where your light's going to go, where's the wire going to go, where's your battery underneath. And once that's done, before you put it in, I would mark where your circle is. And if you're doing a real technical competition, I would come back in and I would do a gill effect, like you see on the bottom of a mushroom, using royal icing. I would ice it, then add like gills and things, just like you see on a mushroom.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Edge, color it, leave the center, mark where it's going to sit so you don't cover that out. So you want a nice, cover it up, make sure you want a nice smooth surface for it to go on.
Tony's asking if you cooked the cylinder in 2 parts.
No, the cylinder's solid.
Okay. Belinda says you're the master of gingerbread.
So yeah, all my cylinders are baked on cardboard, so they're solid and you don't really see the seam if you texture it correctly.
Mm.
And this one was, I kind of went through a very structured approach, and then I was like, okay, just let it go. Let's go. It's my natural phase. And just let it go. Let's do non-structured forms, natural forms. Birch, this is more of a birch bark look. And just, so yeah, I kind of feel like an artist, I'm into my natural stage.
It's beautiful.
Nature stage. So we can't really cover everything. I just wanted to focus on how you do a structure and then how you do gingerbread to get these unusual shapes. And the reason why you want to do unusual shapes is nobody else is going to make one like this. It's going to be a one of a kind. It's unique. It shows a lot of technical difficulty.
Your garden houses especially, they just floored me when you showed them at Cookie-a-thon.
So the last part will be when you do your ivy, the holly leaves, which are your shingles. I just use these, the PME push molds.
I have those. We could do this. No, I'm just kidding.
Now I would do different sizes, and I wouldn't thin the edges and do fancy edges because you kind of want to treat them like shingles. And once you start doing a thinning of the edge and the curls and all that, it's going to get much more difficult to start covering it. Okay. So you're going to have various sizes. You're going to start with your biggest on the bottom, and it's really good to have it extend out and cover this edge so that nobody can see if you have an ugly edge or anything broke or anything.
And do you just attach with royal?
Pardon?
Do you just attach with royal?
Just attach with royal. I prefer to use royal. Ice melt's quick in a competition. I find chocolate melts too much, and ice melt's a little too dangerous to work with unless I want something quick. Some people are heating up gummies and using those gummy bears, and they use that. I just I find royal icing is good enough. Just don't get it too dry. You need to have some moisture that it sticks to the gingerbread.
Okay.
And as you're doing this, I would only do 2 or 3 layers at a time and then let it dry because there's a lot of weight on it. So do a few layers. Let it dry. If you're doing a family get together, you ask your aunt, hey, you want to do some layers? And she'll go around. You're going to be able to do some big ones, but you're going to do some small ones too. And gradually get higher, you're going to get smaller and smaller.
Okay.
These are all fancy decorating techniques. You definitely want to color like Sydney showed. I'm going to go into ahead of time. I'm going to come in with dust and I actually just prefer to use the gel colors. So I like to use the Pro Gel and the fractals. I'm going to be doing a natural color, and you have to be careful with browns. Sometimes when you mix them with the Everclear, you get a green that will come out. So these have been really good. I've really liked the fractals recently. They came out with a skin line that goes from pale skin to the dark, and I find that works really good for a natural look. So I'm just going to wet those with Everclear or alcohol, and I'm going to work it into the seams. Dark first, but be careful gingerbread, you can't wipe it off. Like sometimes with gum paste and things, you can put your dark color, wipe it off. Gingerbread will suck it in. So be very sparing as you apply it. There's really no way to take it back.
Okay.
Having said that, if your gingerbread's too dark and you can't really show off the light colors, thin some royal icing or get some white airbrush color. Just come in and apply some white and then apply your colors over top. That way they pop and they don't get lost in the dark gingerbread.
Okay. That's a great tip too. I feel like you're it sounds like when you set it down that it's so hard that it's like setting down dried clay or ceramic.
This was baked 3 hours ago.
Wow.
You can hear it already.
Look at that.
Now, once you get the dark colors and all that, I'm going to hit it with, I'm terrible. I have so many dust. I deal a lot with the metallics and all that. So I like to add, just splashes of color and brightness. And when I do my window, I'm going to have that vine. And I'm going to come around. I'm going to hit it with gold and just have the dark areas. So I like to brighten it up that way. And of course, you want to do all that before you start doing the top and you start doing all of your ivy. But like I said, I'm just going to focus mainly on the structure and showing off that you can bake on vases, bake in different forms. And it's just something that you get away from your lay it out, cut it. Let's go and do something that's more organic.
That is beautiful.
So, questions?
Yes, they have about a 10-second delay. So this is your chance for questions, everyone that's here live right now.
Yeah, I think we have about 10 minutes.
Allison is loving this. I know, I want to go do one right now.
Yep.
I want to teach a class, but I couldn't get over the fact that, there is a lot of baking technique involved. And how do I talk about the baking, but still be able to do hands-on in classes? So maybe this is a way to do it, a hybrid effect where you talk people through how to bake it, have them bake it, and then you do a hands-on portion for the decorating, assembling and decorating.
Tony says, I'm just in awe. Janie says, thank you so much for this. Just amazing tips. So I know someone's going to ask later. Yes, the video is going to be available for replay. It's the easiest place to find it is going to be on my YouTube channel underneath the live tab, because this is a live stream, and then you can rewatch it as many times as you want. This has just been absolutely fantastic. I don't see any questions coming in yet. Yeah, I think they're all just like mesmerized.
Well, it's pretty technical, and it's probably things you probably haven't seen because gingerbread world is pretty isolated, insular. So this is a chance to get a glimpse into that level.
It's just beautiful, and just just backing all the way up to baking on the glass and shopping in the thrift shops for the glass.
Yeah, I still think they're wondering about me. They have me on camera. What is she doing with those vases?
Well, they probably go, oh, wait, that's the lady from TV. Let's watch what she's looking at.
I know. I just got recognized on Thursday at the store. Or no, Friday. I picked up the house and I stopped to get some chocolate. And the lady goes, don't I know you? I'm like, I don't think so. And then that's when I get the note from my mom. We're watching you on TV. The replay's on today.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, this is a great point, Tony. Thank you for that. We would like to know if you have, I think what it is, you and I talked about this. I think right now, Miss Donna wants to promote her Facebook page until she's set on a name for her Instagram page.
Yes, I do have an Instagram page, but it was mainly put together because Food Network needed it right away. So, but I was challenged at the Cookie Con this year to get an Instagram page that works, especially when the lady saw the bourbon gingerbread factory. And she's like, there's so many people out there that would love it. So I have made 2 reels, but I still need a real name. I just threw out a name there. But the reels are available on my Facebook page. And it's Cookies 2, T-O-O, Pretty to Eat.
Cookies?
2, O-O, T-O-O, sorry. Pretty to Eat. Which is a question because I do gingerbread. Should I have a cookie page or?
Yes, that's it.
Trying to think about when they do searches, you want the word cookie first. But so yeah, so some of my houses, I'll try to keep up on it more. But I made the promise, and I'm not just wasting my time on Instagram. I'm doing research. I'm learning.
Well, if we hadn't had the little snafu tonight with StreamYard and Facebook, and I'm not Facebook, StreamYard and my computer, doing an update right when we tried to go live. Like I had this set up since 5 o'clock and tested everything and it was perfect. If we hadn't had that issue, we would have also streamed this to Instagram. So the next time you come on, because it's a new update, the next time you come on, we will get you right over onto Instagram as well.
Okay. And, you know, if you want to switch the camera one, I'm just going to show off, you know, when we were talking about the grain and the wood effect, I'm just going to show off on my other house.
Do you want me to take Donna 2 totally out now?
I think we don't really have much more time, but I just wanted to show, you know, this is what kind of a graining effect you can get.
Let's get that.
And just show off how there's some white in there, and that white just brings out the caramels and the lighter colors.
Oh, so beautiful. Now,
and if you look closer, you could actually see some of the golds and stuff.
Can you talk quickly about what is your favorite medium to use for windows? Because I think you mentioned that.
I'm starting to really lean towards the new cello sheets. When I did the last competition, it was elves elfing off, and I did a factory. And so I talked to Sydney about, can we get a grid pattern in? And then that way I can just do a cutter for the window shape and then have a cutter that's going to cut my gum paste and hide my edges. And I did try putting the isomold on, and I sealed the isomold underneath it, but it ended up all frosted, and I didn't like that. Now we do have humid summers, but this window has been up for 13 months now, and it hasn't curled or anything. So I'm really,
and did you just attach it like on top of the gingerbread and then the frame on top of that, and you attached it with Royal or with Isomalt?
I actually used piping gel. I did a very couple piping gel around there just to take a chance because it was rolling up. And I thought, well, this might add moisture, but I'm putting the window over top, the window frame over top.
And it just acted like a glue.
It did, and it didn't curl, and it hasn't wrinkled. And I am
super clear
isomalt, but I really like the window. And if you look at the ones in the back,
it is really, really clear, Donna, on camera too. Oh yeah, and those
they're great with the grid pattern. Would be great on a Tudor house or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know she has those available now for purchase, and I have to admit I'm really loving the cello sheets for the windows.
Wow, I do too. I really do. Well, I can't tell you enough thank yous for sharing your talent with us tonight. This was incredible.
Well, I'm glad I got on. Sorry it was so rushed, and but thank you.
Oh no,
I survived.
You kept a great pace, and I think practicing the other day was really great too. There's just, you know, when you do these live streams, there's no way to know when Facebook, StreamYard, or the internet in general is going to slap you with an update. So anyway, Debbie's going to help me figure out how to just turn that off, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it just happens at the most inappropriate times.
The cameras worked out great, so I think everything was really good overall.
Really good. Now, we would like to invite you back whenever you want to come on, and especially if you want to do some mad scientist experiment. A Monday evening's great, but I know your real job keeps you super busy. So if you'll just let us know when you'd like to come back on, when you feel like sharing some more, we're up for it. We'll be there.
So at this point, should I tell everybody what my real job is?
Yes, I think you should tell them. Do you want to come back to the camera so they can see you?
Oh, not really at this point. Oh, it's so hot and sweaty. I don't know how that works. My real job is I work in the manufacturing, automotive manufacturing. In fact, just it's been a year. I just got off the Hummer launch, the electric Hummer. I was working on designing the drive unit, the build of the drive unit. So everybody's like, "Oh, you're an engineer. That makes it easy." Well, I deal with productivity and throughput, and gingerbread is not fast at all. So
it's your therapy.
So I call it an artistic outlet.
Yes,
but I have to admit, it kind of pulls in, you know, some of the stuff I've worked with when I'm doing a Food Network show. I'm like, that's like a launch, or when we're starting a vehicle, you know, I have a certain time frame. I have like 3 weeks that I got the theme, and I got to develop, and I got to get everything done. I got to do this time frame. And sometimes even when I'm working on a project, I talk to people at work, and they come up with ideas.
Oh,
like the first time I needed an internal structure, I was using conduit, and I bent it, but it wasn't consistent. I was having a hard a hard time attaching seams because they weren't the same. They weren't working. Nothing was welding. It was just horrible. So I'm complaining at work, and the guy goes, "Why don't you just MIG weld it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have a MIG welder in my garage." He goes, "I have one. Stop over tonight."
Oh my goodness. That's so
Or
fun.
the other day, I needed to make a big tire, and that's one thing you can't do with the silicone. You cannot mold rubber. I'm like, how do I make a tire when I can't mold rubber? And once again, I was talking at work, and the next day the guy comes in and he goes, I was thinking about that when I was out barbecuing. I looked at my grill. The wheels on the grill are plastic. I'm like, oh. So now my grill has one tire because I used the other tire, other wheel to make a tire mold.
Oh, that's so perfect. Well, Tony says, yes, please come back. Susan says, love your shirt. Allison says, awesome
I
job.
on just for you.
Keep calm. Let's see. Also, Myra says, unbelievable work. Sheila says, this was great.
Hi, Sheila.
Thank you so much. This was really awesome. Everyone really enjoyed it. And I really appreciate you bringing gingerbread into the group.
Okay.
And being brave and doing a live like this, because it was just, you just shared so many beautiful things with us tonight.
And I'm just thrilled I was able to show off the houses, that the timing was just perfect to be able to
How
share.
did you get that house back, by the way? Did you go get it?
Yes, when I went down, my neighbor and I went down and picked it up. And then I actually went in January and did a live video at work. And I took this house and used it. And then it was just on display again at work for 3 months.
Wow.
Because I never thought gingerbread and engineering worked out. But she says, you never know. It's all technical. And maybe that a lot of people look at gingerbread and they've developed STEM programs off it. Because kids can learn. You can learn about math. Anytime you're baking, fractions are really easy if you start thinking about baking cups and half a teaspoon, half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon. It's really great to bring that math in and develop things.
Wow.
And I had never made that connection before, but when she was talking about maybe you were already leaning towards that. And I have to admit, I really love the challenge of coming up with something structurally unique made out of gingerbread. How can you do it?
Oh, I love it.
When you look this front, you say, how can you do that out of gingerbread?
That's amazing. Totally amazing. Well, listen, I think we are at our time limit. So what we're gonna do, guys, is take a 15-minute break. Meet me back, not in this live stream. We're gonna end and we're gonna go into Lizelle's time stream. So watch for a 5-minute warning through your text alert. And then we're gonna pop up in Lizelle's, and then that's gonna be the end of our Christmas event. I am so sad. Are you sure you don't want to do something Christmassy next week, Miss Donna? Or are you busy?
As soon as I'm done here, I'm changing the kitchen back over to chocolate production. I got Oreos.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, let us know if you need some taste testers. I can probably get Debbie and her husband up there on their way home.
Oh, definitely.
So Allison said she babysits her grandsons twice a month. They do baking. And she always inserts math and science into the process of baking. And she does. It's really fun to hear all the things she does with them. And they're really interested in it now, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of things to learn. I know there was one competition where you build a bridge and they tried to put weight on it and see whose bridge could maintain the most weight.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really neat. All right. Well, Miss Donna, hang out with us for a second. Everybody else, we'll see you back here at 8:30 in a separate live stream for Lizelle. Miss Donna, you want to tell them good night?
Good night. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Christmas. See you next year.
Bye.